gonna be like messing with my hair this entire video. Anyway, I'm in Korea. I'm in a mandatory 2-week quarantine. Also, you're getting like my bare face because I never wear makeup. I put some on because I knew I wanted to film this, so I put some on and I looked, I mean, probably better than I do now, but I felt disgusting. So you're just getting, I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time, but I kind of knew that I was going to do it once I got here because I have literally 2 weeks to do nothing. I wanted to talk about it because I feel like when I first announced that, oh, I'm coming to Korea, it's a bit of a surprise for a lot of people. A big surprise for the people who I didn't talk to on a daily basis my last year at MSU. I just thought I'd fill everybody in, but also like share something. So like if other people watch it and they're kind of in like the same point in life, maybe they can relate to it or something. I kind of just wanted to explain why I decided to come to Korea, what, you know, got me there, what got me thinking about Korea in the first place. For this, we need to go back to fall of 2018. I was starting my junior year at MSU. It was my first semester living off campus, my first semester with a car. It wasn't my first semester with a job, but it was my first semester with like the job having a bit more weight because I lived off campus, so I had to pay for things. I had to pay for rent, I had to buy groceries, I had to put gas in my car, all this stuff. It was a lot. Whenever I talk about that semester, I often refer to it as the semester, and people just know what I'm talking about because it was the worst. A combination of like living off campus, having to work 24/7 to be able to have money to pay for the house. I hardly ever ate because I didn't have money to go buy more groceries to eat. Was also like really busy again with work. I took like a really hard class. I would study for hours and hours and hours on end for every single exam, and I completely failed every single one. It's a combination of all of those things, but also I felt like I was under like a lot of pressure that I put on myself to kind of like show up in my campus ministry. At that point, I felt like, oh, obviously I have to lead the women's group. I have to like be super spiritual. I have to read my Bible every day. I have to get these crazy life-changing revelations every time I open my Bible. I have to be the most like engaged worshiper at church. I have to do all of this stuff so that I can be who like I felt like I was supposed to be. The entire semester I was just going through all the stress from like life and school and work, and also like these just unrealistic expectations that I was putting on myself to be somebody like that I'm not. Disclaimer, not that it's like bad to want to like be in your Bible every day or to like be authentic in your worship at church. Those aren't bad, but I wasn't doing them to like grow in my relationship with Christ. I wasn't doing it to learn more about God. I wanted to be in my Bible and journal every day because I wanted people to look at me and be like, oh, look at her, like she's such a good Christian, like she's so cool or whatever. I know that now, but when you're doing those things for the wrong reason, they become very exhausting. There was one weekend, there was a Halloween party. I guess I volunteered to organize it. I had no time to like organize it. I had no money to buy stuff to organize it. And I was like under like so much pressure the whole time because I was like, oh, this food's gotta be cute, the decorations gotta be cute. Like people have to have so much fun at this party. It was fun is what I'm told. But I had no fun the entire time because I was so stressed and anxious that other people weren't having fun. I completely emptied out my bank account to buy stuff for that party. I mean, I got refunded for it, but it was just like, it was so stressful working to buy food for a party under such a limited budget. That was on a Saturday. The Sunday after, I was I was going to 2 different church services at this time too, again, because I gotta be so spiritual. The next morning, I woke up super early. I went to the first one, and then I went to the next one, and then I think I had to work like the rest of the day too. And then the day after that was Monday, and I had a ton of classes. I was gone on campus all day. I'm rambling a lot. Because at that point, that was kind of like the breaking point for me. I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm just doing all of these things that I don't really like doing. It kind of just like kept building and building and building all semester. I lost like, I think like 20 to 25 pounds that semester because the combination of having to walk, it was like 35-40 minute walk to my classes every day, one way, so I'd have to do that twice. And again, I didn't have money to eat while I was gone all day, so I just wouldn't eat, and I was stressed to the max, absolutely stressed out. I didn't sleep, I didn't eat, I dropped weight like it was my job. And so it was like at the end of that semester, I was out getting lunch with a friend that I hadn't seen in a while. I was just kind of telling them all these things, and they were like, you do too much, you should stop. And I was like, huh, I guess I do. So I did. So it happened like towards the end of this semester. I was up really late. I got home from work at like midnight. I had like a 10-page paper I needed to write that was due for the next day. I had like, I think like 5 pages of it written, but it was like a dense like research paper. So I was like, I'm just gonna be up all night. I know that I am. I'm sitting up all night, eating my Taco Bell, and I'm like, I really need some music to, 1, keep me focused, 2, keep me from falling asleep. So I was like, well, I can't play my worship music because if it's like stuff that I know, especially if it's worship music, I'm not going to focus on my work at all. I'm just gonna want to sing along. Can't play my film or video game scores because again, I'll get too into them and then I won't focus on this paper. I can't play like piano music, typical like study playlists on Spotify that are just full of like classical and piano music. I can't play those because it was like 3 o'clock in the morning and I was exhausted and I was going to fall asleep. So I was like, I just need some like upbeat, like white noise stuff going on in the back. And what I came across was K-pop. I'd heard about it like a little bit. I knew it was like Korean, and I knew that obviously I didn't know any Korean, so I wasn't gonna know any of it, and it was pretty upbeat. So I was like, yeah, let's try that. It still has words, but like I have no idea what they're saying. I have no idea what the song's about. Let's just play that. And so I did. And that was probably like I'm gonna say the best thing for me, but the worst thing for finishing my paper. It was BTS, obviously. I was listening to them, and then it just took me to YouTube, and they had just recently performed Billboard Music Awards or the AMAs or some big award show in the US. And they had just been on Jimmy Fallon. There was like all kinds of media available for them on YouTube. So I was like just checking them out all night and everything, and I was like, you're probably thinking now, like, what does that have to do with you deciding to move to Korea? You're probably thinking that I came here to try and meet BTS. No, I did not. That is borderline like stalkerish. I would not do that. That is not my sole purpose in life, is to meet BTS, although, like, I would love that. No, I did not do that. This is where you keep listening. And this is gonna sound really crazy too. I was at such a point in my life where I was just like, I was so confused. I was like, why don't I like leading these Bible studies for these young adults? Why don't I like, no, I won't say I don't like it, but I didn't feel like that's what I was like supposed to be doing. It just like exhausted me more than it like excited me to do. Why can't I be like this? Why can't I be like this? And I was like trying to be all of that, and I was so exhausted, so fed up with just being like lost. And then I started listening to BTS, and I'll give like a quick and dirty about BTS. Yes, they're K-pop. Yes, they speak Korean. Do I know what they're saying 80% of the time? No. But there's this thing called Google Translate. I very quickly discovered that they like their choreography, their lyrics, everything is telling a story. And I'm not gonna launch into a big thing about the BTS narrative because this video will literally be 5 hours long if I start talking about it. Yeah, at that point in like the narrative that they were singing about, it's like a fictional narrative, but also like obviously with fictional things you can like put yourself into them and then they make sense. The point that they were at in their fictional narrative, the first song I listened to is a song called Fake Love, and that song is pretty self-explanatory. It's about fake love and how they are over it. And I kind of felt, I don't know, not that I was getting fake love from people, but like I was fake loving them, if that makes sense. I was fake loving God too, because I thought that I can only do it if it looked like how this person did it, or if it looked like how this person did it. Not to say that like I can't learn from other people, but like I wanted to be that other person. I wanted to be that other person. I didn't want to be me. After Fake Love, the next like point in their narrative was they sing things about like you can't really love others until you love yourself, which spoke like so much truth into my life right then. There's so much truth and like what they were speaking through those lyrics, through those things, to me. And I don't think that loving yourself is the most important thing, but obviously like I was working myself ragged, I was taking all these classes, I was doing all this stuff, and I was just absolutely exhausted. And on top of all of that, when I wasn't doing that, I was still trying to be literally someone else. You know, through BTS, God was telling me, he was like, I wouldn't even say reminded me, because I don't think I had a good grip on it in the first place. He was just kind of telling me that if you were this other person, you would not be finding as much truth in this Korean boy band as you are. And he also kind of spoke to me. He was like, I made you so that you would find truth through me in them. I made you so that you would find my voice in this boy band who's not even singing in a language that I understand. I made you the way that you are. So stop trying to be someone else. And it seems like such like a cliche message, but like, ooh, I needed that. And it was just so profound. I can't believe I never thought of it before. That there was a way for me to grow in Christ while still being who I am. That I didn't have to be these other people, that he made me the way that he did for a reason. And, you know, the way that I learn about him could be the same as others, but it's going to be different too, because if we were all the same, then I don't think that that would showcase, you know, how great and powerful God is if we just did everything the same, which is a BTS lyric. The song that they dropped after I started listening to them, that's literally like one of the first lines in that song. I'm gonna find it. Because like I read those lyrics and I was like, that's literally what God was just telling me through their music before that song even came out. It says, who am I? The question I had my whole life, the question which I probably won't find an answer to my whole life. If I were answerable with a few mere words, then God wouldn't have created all these various beauties. I'm not even making this up. What they just kind of taught me was that, yeah, I'm not supposed to be like somebody else. I'm supposed to be who I am. And I was kind of at that point on like a journey to figure out who I am and like what I'm supposed to do. And at the same time, I was learning that, you know, God isn't somebody who is like straightforward. He's not explainable. Let me rephrase it this way, because that sounds bad. There is something new to be learned about him every single day. I feel like that's like more loving in a way, because if we could figure him out, then is he really God? You know what I mean? The more I was learning about him, the more I in turn was learning about me, and the more that he used BTS to speak truth into my life. Moving on. Yes, she is a BTS stan now. The next thing that I kind of started thinking about was, and at this point we're into my like spring semester of my junior year. What I was thinking I wanted to do after I graduated was I wanted to go into my campus ministry full time. I don't know, be a minister, I guess. I don't know. And that plan never really like set really well with me. I mean, I knew that I would like doing it, and I knew it would be good work and it would be good fulfilling work, but I just never felt like that was like it, you know? I felt like there were still more steps that I needed to take before like I made a decision on what I was going to be doing after I graduated college. So I talked to my campus ministers about that for a long time. I just kept telling them like I don't think it is. And then we talked through like, well, what do you want? I was thinking more in terms of like being in a school. I kind of knew that I wanted to be in a school at some point. I had just started my minor in educational studies because a year prior I figured out that teaching was something that I would like to do, but if I had joined the College of Ed at that point, I would have had to tack on like 2 more years of college, which like I love MSU, I love my friends there, but my bank account just did not want that. So I was like, okay, so I minored in educational studies to learn about teaching while not getting a teaching certificate. So I was thinking for a while that I would want to be in a school. And at that point I had been on staff with my church's high school ministry, and I loved doing that. So that was the one thing, even in my horrible semester, that I always made time for. I didn't care how exhausted I was, I didn't care how much homework I had, how much I hadn't eaten. I would always make time for the high school ministry because I loved it so much. I loved my small group, like they're pictured up here all over the walls. They are some of my best friends. I loved it so much, and they made me want to be in a school more because I love students, I love high schoolers, so that is kind of what led me to that decision. I wanted to be in a school. So we started talking, and I kind of landed on I would try and be a high school college advisor because MSU has this really, really great college advising program where they hire recent MSU grads, and you're trained and you get placed at a high school of a low socioeconomic status, one that kind of doesn't really have like a culture of going to college. My high school had one my senior year, and he was so helpful. And so I was like, I would love to help students do that. I would love to help students like just realize their potential. I feel like that in a way is ministry. So I ran with that for a while. That was my plan. I was more content with that than I was with doing campus ministry right after I graduated. So it felt like a step in the right direction, but still like not quite there yet, which I was fine with. Like I was like, so long as I really have a job after I graduate, like I've always known that I was gonna end up doing whatever I was supposed to be doing, so I just kind of went with it. And then junior year ends, still super into K-pop, still like running with the idea of being in a school, and then I go to Israel. So prior to going to Israel, I had heard, like I hear a lot about people like going overseas to teach English and everything, and I had always known that that was something that I would love to do. I would love doing that, but I also didn't speak any language other than English. I did take 2 years of Hebrew at MSU, and that's what helped me get to Israel. So I was thinking like, before I went to Israel, I was like, oh, maybe I could like, because I wasn't good at Hebrew. I really wasn't. I was like mildly proficient, but in no means fluent, in no means in any position to be teaching English there. So I was like, maybe if I go and I like it, I could come back and like do an ulpan and become fluent in Hebrew, and then I could find a job teaching English in Israel. I don't want to talk about it too much, but I got there and I was just like, it was just a lot of things that compiled to make me really not want to go back. Sorry, again, if that offends anybody. That's just the experience I had. I mean, I would definitely go back and take like a tour of the parts of the country that I never got to see, but I absolutely would not want to live there again. So I left Israel and I was like, okay, scratch that fluent Hebrew ulpan idea. So I was running with the college advising idea again. And now at this point we are starting my senior year at MSU. And I felt good because I had it figured out. I couldn't really, you can't apply to the college advising stuff until I think like March of your senior year. So I had a lot of time to wait to kind of like prepare myself, to make my resume look better. And I didn't really have like a lot of classes my senior year, like a lot of hard classes. I was done with all of my required classes, so, and I only had 2 classes for my major that I had to take, 1 per semester, and everything else was just for my minor, which again wasn't too like time consuming or taxing really. So I had free time. And one of like the first days in the class for my major, my professor, she is in charge of these things called ILOs in my major, and it stands for Integrated Language Option. Basically what it is, it's like a semester-long group project sort of thing, where you meet with a native speaker of another language, you learn the language as well as like kind of learn the culture of the language, and the culture of the people who speak the language and everything like that. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. I'm not taking a language for the first time in 2 years. I was like, it would make sense for me to take a Hebrew one. First thing I thought, I was like, if they have a Korean one, I'm gonna take it. Because again, I love listening to K-pop. I'm not doing Hebrew. I have free time. So I was like, if she writes down that there's a Korean one, I'm going to do it. And she did. The teacher who was teaching us Korean, she was not a native speaker of Korean. She's actually from Turkey. A native Turkish speaker, got her master's in Korea. So she speaks Turkish, perfect Korean, and then she was at MSU getting her PhD. So she also spoke perfect English. Like, she's just incredible, absolutely incredible person. But she said that she got to study in Korea on like some really fancy like scholarship sort of thing. She did nothing but learn Korean for like a year, and then she did her master's all in Korean. And I was like, that sounds so cool. If I could get it paid for, first off, I'm not gonna pay for it, but if I could get like paid to be in Korea and like learn Korean, like, I don't know, that just like, it just sounded so cool. It sounded so cool to me, and I just kind of felt like God was like poking something at me with that. I didn't really know about grad school. I haven't really ruled it out, but I just kind of figured that it wasn't something I was going to do right after my undergrad. I was like researching these different like Korean government scholarships that would like pay for me to go to a university in Korea. I'm already kind of late on the application. It just sounded like a lot of work that I didn't really want to do, and I didn't think it would end up working anyway. But I still felt like God was telling me something about that. So I started asking people to pray. I didn't really like go into specifics of it. It was just, I was like, I'm contemplating going to another country after I graduate. I didn't really say for grad school. I didn't say for what. I just said for that. I was like, okay, if this is something like you are actually wanting me to do, then tell me and I will do it. I was on MSU's like career posting website. I just like, not even thinking anything of it, I just went up to the search bar and I typed in Korea, and then one of the first things that pops up is to teach English in Korea. And I was like, oh yeah, that would be absolutely perfect, but I don't speak Korean. So I clicked on it anyway, and it said in like bold capital letters, you do not need to speak Korean. And I was like, what? I don't have to speak Korean to go teach English in Korea? And it also said that like they pay for your rent, they pay for your flight, they like, it's relatively cheap to live here, especially because I'm not paying rent. So you're able to save up a lot of money and put it towards your student loans. To be qualified for this is you need to have a bachelor's degree and you need to be a native English speaker. And I was like, I have those things. Well, I didn't have a bachelor's degree yet, but by the time I would be applying for the jobs, I would. And then at that point, God was like, that's it. And I was like, I'm sold. That became, like, that was it. Like, ask anybody, like any of my friends from my senior year, anybody. I probably may have been like a little obsessed with it, but I was just like, it's so perfect for me right now. It just sounded so completely perfect, and it just made sense with like how I, didn't really know what I wanted to do in my future. I was trying to be somebody else, and I get BTS, and then I'm running with that. I want to teach. I want to be in a school in Korea. I did everything that I could do to make myself a better candidate for a better job. I, of course, was taking like education classes. None of the classes really like taught me how to teach like I wanted. They were just like different like issues within education. They were still really interesting. But my last semester at MSU, it was an ESL teaching class, and that was so helpful. And I also signed up for a TEFL course. TEFL stands for Teaching English as a Foreign Language, and yeah, it's going well. It was going well. Like everything just seemed to work. Everything just seemed, I'm gonna say easy. Everything really did seem easy. And then also throughout the whole process, I just kind of felt like God was telling me, he was telling me that I was going to have to like lean on him more than I ever have before. And I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like, I'm trying to go to another country. I'm not going to say that I wasn't during that time, but I definitely wasn't in the way that I thought I was going to have to. Because like I was excited about it, I was in for it, and things were lining up for me. So that's why I say it seemed easy. But then everything came to a screeching halt. I can't even remember the exact date. I think it was March 12th is when MSU shut down because of coronavirus. Not just MSU, basically the entire world shut down because of coronavirus. Korea had been experiencing it before then, and I had like voiced that a few times. I was like, I'm getting kind of worried about this virus, but I didn't think too much of it. Then all of a sudden it's in Korea, and then all of a sudden it's at MSU, and then nothing is the same. That was when I really, really had to start leaning on God, you know, for guidance, that this was still like what he wanted me to do. I was sold on the idea. I was sold, like I was gonna come. I was gonna go to Korea, that was it. But then, you know, everything happened, and I was like, I didn't know if that was God telling me like to stop, or if it was him, you know, like having me have to rely on him more. And it was definitely that, because things from then on were not easy, but they were doable, and we did it, and I'm in Korea. I guess moral of the story is, decided to come to Korea because I feel like I'm supposed to be here. Do I feel like it's what I'm going to be doing for a super, super long time, teaching in a school here? I don't know. Do I feel like I'm going to stay here? I don't know. Like, I'm not opposed to it, but again, it's obviously hard to tell right now because the only place I've been is this apartment, the airport, and in a tent to get tested for coronavirus. But I trust that I will know when I need to know, because that is how it's been with everything so far. So that's it. I guess thank you to all the people, all of my friends and everybody through this past year who have prayed for me, who have listened to me talk about Korea all the time, or listened to me talk about BTS all the time. Thank you. Thank you. So if you've watched all the way to the end, thanks. Sorry that I ramble a lot. I don't know how to end videos. Okay, bye.